More than 30 people died in the protest.
Consequently, having reflected, I will not sign the 2024 finance bill.
Kenya, a nation known for its vibrant democracy, is now at crossroads. At the center of the storm is President Ruto Williams, once known as one of Africa's most promising presidents.
It's not going to be business as usual. We have these meetings, Africa, US, Africa, Europe. We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place.
A couple of hours ago, he sacked his entire cabinet ministers.
Decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the cabinet secretaries and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya.
Once known as one of Africa's most promising president, is now facing challenges. What went wrong? What's going on in Kenya? William Ruto's rise to power was seen as a beacon of hope for many Kenyans. Elected with promises of good governance and economic reforms, he quickly became a symbol of change. His early days in office was marked by bold promises and ambitious plans. However, the seeds of discontent were already being sown. And just like that neighbor who borrows your lawnmower and returns it broken, things quickly went down the hill. As economic conditions in Kenya worsened, criticism mounted. Before he took power, most of his cabinet members had criminal cases. We are talking about rape cases, corruption cases, and also murder cases. But when he took power, he dropped all the charges and instead appointed them to higher posts. The controversy of his presidency deepened with a finance bill that proposed increase in taxes. This move, influenced by the IMF and World Bank recommendations, was aimed at addressing Kenya's ballooning budget deficit, which had reached 3.6 trillion shillings. The intent was to stabilize the economy, but for many Kenyans, it meant more financial burden. The time couldn't have been worse, as economic hardships were already pressing on the population. It's like trying to fill a leaking vessel by adding more water. It just doesn't work. In any case, I'm going to play a video for you where one of the protesters is actually going to speak for the protesters, and on the other hand, an MP that actually voted for the bill is going to talk about the bill.
No, it does not. The hashtag, and for everyone who's listening, is hashtag Ruto must go. We have currently on the panel an MP who currently voted yes. I would just like to tell you, shame on you, right? I would just like to say that the finance bill is not something that dropping it is something that we can say that him dropping it is showing that he listened. Because in several interviews that he has done, he has made it very clear that he dropped it unwillingly and that he is proud of the bill that he's passed. He has actually said that the MPs who voted yes for that bill should be very proud of themselves. They did a great service to this nation. At every single point, through rhetoric, through law, and through policy, he has demonstrated that he hasn't listened to the people. Ruto must.
Extremely wrong. And not only did I vote yes, I also mobilized my colleagues as the chief whip of the National Assembly of the majority to vote yes. We must be realistic. We have a country that passed a constitution in 2010, which is humongous, that we must maintain. It is the Kenyan people that passed to have 47 counties across the country, that they got to pay their staff. It is the Kenyan people that set different systems of government that are autonomous, including the judiciary. It is the Kenyan people that gave the responsibility of the previous government to pass and approve the new system of education called CBC that requires an additional 66,000 teachers to teach their students in schools. That ideally required a budget. It required extra money. The only way government makes money is through taxes. And we had to broaden, the president had to find a way to broaden the tax base. That was one option. He had the option of broadening the tax base or borrowing. What my colleague in this panel is saying and telling me, shame on you, I'll tell him also, it is also shameful for a country to be dependent on foreign aid. to run their internal affairs. I mean, that is what a responsible leader ought to have done. Extend the tax base, and that is what we did. All the imports, several items that are imported from different countries. That is what we did.
Whether Ruto was right or wrong, the elements involved in this protest were just too strong to be ignored. You see, not only the fact that the youths protested, but then people from all walks of life actually came together. Institutions like the Lawyers Association, the Doctors Association, and many other institutions actually came out to march against the president. Now, this painted a picture questioning the legitimacy of the president. The message of the protesters was clear. They had lost confidence in the government they believed was mired in corruption and incompetence. This was not just the financial bill, it was a accumulation of growing dissatisfaction with the administration's handling of governance and the economy. It's like a pot of soup boiling over. You ignore it for too long and eventually it makes a mess. In a bid to address legitimacy, President Ruto actually took a step to sack all his cabinet ministers. This unprecedented move was seen by some experts as an attempt to placate the masses and buy time. Yet questions remain. Was this decision a genuine effort to address the root cause of the protest, or merely a superficial gesture? It's like throwing out your old clothes without buying new ones. It might seem as a change, but you are still left with nothing to wear. Now, this takes us to the legitimate crisis. Ruto's government is facing a legitimacy crisis. Many of his appointees, tainted by past corruption scandals, have become symbols of the very issues they were appointed to combat. More to that, the president's low election turnout rate here, it should be understood that during elections, there were actually very few people that turned out to vote. So all this together with the economic hardships is actually making the Kenyans pose a legitimacy problem. So the public's trust has been eroded by accusations of corruption and display of wealth by public officials, further alienating the populace. It's like asking a mouse to guard a piece of cheese. So what's the way forward? What's going to be of Kenya in a few days or in a few weeks? The road ahead for Kenya in the following days and months is uncertain for Kenya. The success of Ruto's new cabinet will depend on whether it can truly represent the diverse voices calling for change. This will require not just symbolic gestures, but concrete actions to root out corruption and restore trust in the government. So the appointment of a broad-based cabinet, as promised, could be a step in the right direction. However, the inclusion of traditional political opposition and young activists will be crucial in determining its effectiveness. Now, that said, Kenya's story is still unfolding. Will President Ruto rise to power and lead his people through this crisis? Or will the voices of the streets prevail? Only time will tell. So this is the end of my video. I also want to say that Africa Today is a business channel. Here we talk about business, entrepreneurship, money again, and anything that can bring you money. So if you haven't subscribed, I don't really know what you're waiting for. After all, it costs you actually nothing.